Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps and welcome back to the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. After a tremendous battle yesterday in Race 1, we now bring you Race 2 in what certainly looks like a very overcast affair right now, given the fact that the clouds are in the sky. We have had rainfall over the past few hours, certainly across the night as well. The track is damp. As you can see, 14.8 degrees track temperature, currently sat at 17.3 as well. Humidity currently sat at 85%, and obviously the rain doesn't help with that fact either. Plenty of cars though making their way out onto the pit straight, and here the racing will still be brought to the eyes and ears of those spectating in the grandstands and to each and every single one of you at home as well. My name is of course George Morgan, bringing you all the action here this weekend at Spa-Francorchamps. It's a pleasure to be here and bringing to you the final race of the Formula Regional European Championship weekend. A very, very special weekend as well, because it is the Spa 24-hour weekend. A very historic event held here in Spa, coupled that with that of the Belgian Grand Prix that we see in Formula 1. Many of these drivers obviously with their hopes and dreams set on perhaps getting a seat there in the future. There's Santiago Ramos, the man who would certainly impress many by taking the top time in his group, but second on the grid due to the fact that Tim Tramnitz would go fastest across the entirety. And just to explain again how the grid works here in Formula Regional, off the back of qualifying, the two groups went out to set lap times, Tim Tramnitz being the fastest. He, of course, in his group, setting the fastest lap overall, not just in his group, but also overall across the grid. So he is on pole position. As a result, Santiago Ramos is in P2 on the grid, and each of their respective cars that are part of their group as well line up behind them in the order that they qualified. And very soon we'll see them then head out onto the formation lap, but a little bit of work to be had in between. Plenty of the garage crews moving tyres down as well. Now, you saw some of the groove tyres as well. Wets have been applied to these cars just due to the mere fact that the track is as damp as it looks. As you can see there, very, very grey, very dark, and you can just see the moisture there as the crews get set and make some last-minute adjustments to the car. And you can just see there, adjustment to the wings as well, which is very, very necessary, certainly here at Spa, given the fact as well, you couple water with the corners that you have here. Certainly very, very tricky when you head through the technical sections in Sector 2. There is Andrea Kimi Antonelli, of course, the man who was attempting to unseat and get himself into P3, was really trying to tackle hard against the R-Race GP cars of Martini Stenshorn and Tim Tramnitz in yesterday's race. It would be a Prema on top, however. It would be Rafael Camara. Antonelli, unfortunately, on the final lap, just getting it also slightly wrong, heading through Le Source, costing that little bit of time as he challenged for that P3 of Martini Stenshorn and left himself at risk of that of his teammate Lorenzo Flusha. There is Joshua Dirksen, the Paraguayan, back yet again, and having arguably, I would say, one of his better weekends, and has been putting in a lot of work, not only when it comes to physical training, but also mindset as well. Has employed the services of a mental coach to help combat, obviously, wins and losses. Certainly, you want to try and keep a level head, and these drivers know all about that. Matteo Capietto were catching sight of there as well. He was also in the sharp end, trying to nestle in a couple of moves yesterday. RPM coming into this weekend in a stellar run of form, obviously off the back of Ramos's superb performance in qualifying on Thursday. That was on Thursday during the day, of course, teeing up the qualifying groups and the grid for this morning's race. And off the back of yesterday, Prema will be hoping that they can go onwards and try and get themselves another win. Obviously, yesterday being their first win of the season, and they have had so much success in this series and so much success at Spa, because last year getting the wins with Dino Beganovic and that of Paul Aron as well. Both have since progressed into Formula 3, as proven here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, bringing some of the best young talents around to the forefront. And we've got plenty of academy drivers taking part this weekend too, as we see the spectators watching on, all getting their dose of single-seater and GT3 action. Wet track, the lights are on as a result, as race control lists below. And there you see the cars getting underway and making their way down through towards the source. And just look at that spray coming off the back of the cars as well. This is going to be such a difficult situation to manage for the drivers, especially here at Spa. You've got that long stretch heading up towards Kemmel. It's going to get very misty up there, certainly if you're trying to follow in behind as well. So a real test for all these drivers to try and harness, as we're now seeing Tramnitz make his way up the hill. And And here's the way they will line up. Here comes the grid. It's Tim Tramnitz on pole position, coupled with Santiago Ramos on the front row. Andrea Kimi Antonelli is in third, with Rafael Camara, teammate, in fourth as well. Matteo Capietto in fifth, with Joshua Dirksen in sixth. Hadrian David returns to the series yet again, a very promising qualifying too, seventh, with Kaz Havercourt in eighth. Maya Wayug, and a very impressive contender yesterday. She was stellar, making overtakes, battling back. Ninth place she currently is, Alessandra Giusti alongside her. Michael Belov in 11th, with Kirill Smal in 12th. Sami Megatunev in 13th, with Tom Leben in 14th as well. Victor Bernier is in 15th place, with Esteban Masson in 16th. Joshua Dufek lines up in 17th place, with Marcus Amand in 18th. Dilano Van Hoff lines up in 19th place as well, with Matthias Sagazetta in 20th place. Owen Tangavelu in 21st, joined by Lawrence Van Hoopen and ART in 22nd as well. Roman Belinsky, the other Trident, down in 23rd alongside his teammate Nikhil Bora in 24th spot. Adam Fitzgerald, the other RPM car, in 25th, with Martinia Stenshorn, who had a difficult qualifying session, in 26th. Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. in 27th, with Lorenzo Flusha down in 28th. Alexander Partishev in 29th, with Enzo Sciomti in 30th place. Giovanni Maschio in 31st, Niels Kulin in 32nd, with Levente Ravesh and Lucas Medina lining up on the back row of the grid. And just look at the scenes here, folks. Certainly a lot of mist as they make their way around the middle sector. As I said before, very, very tricky to manage. Very early starts to the morning as well. This race getting underway, and is the first event here around Spa on this Saturday. We'll then see, obviously, GT3 action later on as well. But it's all about the Formula Regional European Championship. Start procedure incident involving car 10. Now, that is Joshua Dirksen, everybody. Will be investigated after the race. Interesting to note. So there we go. The race control already getting involved. We'll have to wait and see what they decipher. But that won't be until after this race is over. So sit tight, folks, as now we already see the cars spin the tyres. Tim Tramnitz trying to get that last little bit of heat into them as well, just sliding around. You can just see how much that damp track is affecting the wheel spin on the cars as well. They make their way down in towards bus stop. Of course, Tim Tramnitz, coming off the back of yesterday's performance, second place in the race. No stranger to making, well, race wins. He did the double at Barcelona. Fighting back against Andrea Kimi Antonelli, tried to tackle him heading down towards turn 1, but it would be Tramnitz who led every single time off the start. And I spoke to him earlier on this weekend about how crucial it was to make a start. He said also the vital part of this circuit is the Kemmel Straight. He needs to make sure that he can harness and hold on to the lead. Santiago Ramos has certainly impressed many, and that of his team RPM, by landing that top spot as well in his group. Of course, that being the Group A placings, as the cars then make their way through the bus stop still. Of course, Lorenzo Flusha, who we currently see in shot as well, looking to try and recover the damage after qualifying. Was sensational yesterday as well when he tried to combat his teammate Andrea Kimi Antonelli. And the final runners now making their way through bus stop. There's Lucas Medina further back, Levente Ravesh as well in amongst all this. There's Medina now, the Colombian, ready to get set and line up onto the back of the grid. As we now sit and wait, the safety car has now pulled up in behind. Here comes the green flags now. There is Lucas Medina lining up. Green flags now being waved. Here come the lights. Third light, fourth light, and the fifth light. And it's pedal to the metal. And it is go, 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 go. Tim Tramnitz getting away very well indeed. That's the good start he's been looking for. But what about Antonelli? Down the inside straight away. Ramos cannot stop him. It's Antonelli into second as then they peel out of the source. There's Joshua Dirksen, who got a mammoth of a start himself as well. Now goes side by side with Ramos as they look to go upwards, heading through towards Eau Rouge and Radion as well. Matteo Capietto right in the mix as well. Rafael Camara got swallowed up there as well further back and has lost a place as they now peel on upwards. Now through towards Kemmel. It is still Tramnitz who leads. Look at Dirksen. He's managed to hold on to that third place as well. Sensational job from him as he now looks to challenge that of Ramos there just ahead of him here. Antonelli right in the slipstream of Tim Tramnitz as they peel through towards Les Combes now. You just see there as well Hadrian David getting a great start too, managing to just nestle himself in behind the leading pack. He has been brilliant so far this weekend. again. Hasn't raced in this series at all this season. His first start this weekend since last season. A wildcard entry for ART. And now having a look down the inside now of Rafael Camara's number 8 Prema, as now they move around Rivage corner. Adrian David, a little twitch there as he might come under a little bit of threat, but nonetheless they're all okay. It is still Tramnitz on top. Antonelli remains in second, Ramos in third. It has been a very solid start, a clean start despite the conditions. Credit to the drivers on doing such, as now Maya Wayug now looks to try and land a distinctive blow, as well as they now cruise through this next left. Wayug now looking to challenge. She's got a car right in front of her as well as they head in towards the Lafanier chicane, side by side still. You got the Van Amersfoort in the mix, that of course being Kaz Havercourt, who is coming under that serious pressure. They're all coming in, filing in, nose to tail. The gap now increasing between Ramos and Antonelli as Dirksen also follows in behind. There's David, who's going side by side now with Rafael Camara. Under pressure, Adrian David manages to keep him at bay, gains a place and holds on to P5 as well. A great visit, a great return for Adrian David. Further back, there's Matteo Capietto as well, with Maya Wayug, who has managed to get past Kaz Havercourt. What a display from Maya Wayug, who has given absolutely everything. The Spaniard as well, who has been racing so hard, part as well of the Ferrari Driver Academy, and she has really done herself a service and the team a service at Kick Motorsport as they head through the bus stop chicane. Tim Tramnitz, as I said, he leads the way. Just look at the gap between that of Antonelli and Ramos. The two leaders have checked out, a car going off very wide there, and that's Kaz Havercourt, who now makes his way back onto the circuit. A huge error. Kirill Small is going to try and make his life a little bit difficult, I think. Heading down towards the source now. Side-by-side action between the pair. They bump wheels ever so slightly, but nothing to worry about, to say the least, at least for now, though Havercourt will have something to worry about as they climb up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion as well. Kirill Small looking onwards as he looks to try and usurp that of the Dutchman as they peel through, heading up the hill. They have then got another straight before they reach the Lecom section. Kirill Small, really talented young driver as well, brought into the Monolite team. They've got a real chance for some serious points here in this weekend's race. There you can see them coming out of the mist. Josh Dirksen once again applying the pressure, doesn't want to be held up, takes the long way round. Josh Dirksen, brilliant, absolutely brilliant from Joshua Dirksen. He's now up into third place and building on an already stellar qualifying as he proceeds to move up this order. Ardent Motorsport will be thrilled with that. The Paraguayan now in the top 3, and Ramos reduced to 4th. The man who was fastest in his group has now been reduced, and Wayug now, you can see her in picture, she's managing to hold on to that 7th in brilliant style and currently leads at this point the rookie classification, which is absolutely sensational, as you can see from the left hand side. 2 places gained already since the race start. She has certainly been stellar. Now chasing after that of Rafael Camara. There you see down towards the rear end as well of this top 10. They're all fighting it out. Megatunev trying to get himself into the mix, had a difficult day yesterday where he went off at Lecom. That caused the late safety car, as we now see a little bit of a change for 4th place up at the sharp end as well. Ramos, who is up there. Hadrian David again gaining another spot as well, looking very sharp up at the top end. He looks like he hasn't even missed a beat since last season, as we're seeing more battling further down. That is of course Alessandro Giusti now looking for an inside line, a little twitch as well from Kirill Small, who comes under some serious pressure, and that will make certainly the life a lot easier, that of Alessandro Giusti, who comes into the 3rd sector and manages to besmirch and make his way past Kirill Small and hold on to the position, but he might come under threat this time as well. This very fast-paced section, despite the wet conditions, these drivers will certainly send it as they come down through towards bus stop chicane. We look in the back, in the rear of shot, many of them still going side by side. There's the RPM as well. As I look onwards and upwards, you can just see there Rafael Camara, who's incidentally, I think, come under some pressure as well. A little bit loose there on exit. Maya Wayug as well might look to gain places as a result. A spinner, I think, further back. Cars have gone off wide. I'm not sure what's happened there, and certainly it was. Oh, goodness me. That was close. Roman Belinsky coming unstuck at the bus stop chicane. And that could have ended in tears, certainly for a lot of drivers. Would have been a very quick end to their day, but well managed to obviously avoid the incident. But a lot happening at this race start now. Maya Wayug, who is currently sat in her place in 7th, chasing after Santiago Ramos. We've got some side-by-side once again. That's another Arden car that is looking to get itself up the order as well, as they make the climb now, heading up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Levente Ravesh, who's now looking to go side by side as well. This is Santalok as well, looking to try and brew an extra place as they make their way up the hill, opening up the door as well as they look to go side by side as they make their way up towards the Lecom section. It's going to be Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., but he's not alone. Enzo Scianti in the mix of this. Adam Fitzgerald also looking to try and get into the fray as well. They go 3 wide in towards Lecom. Enzo Scianti still trying to hold on to the place here. Fittipaldi has backed out of it already, but it hasn't stopped Fitzgerald. He tries to make his way through, can't open the door, but a magical moment, and credit to the drivers for making that happen, heading through Lecom as well. Incredible, folks, and what a battle here already at the get-go. We will obviously bring some highlights as well from the incident. This is the moment heading through the bus stop chicane, and it was a little twitchy on exit. That was the moment Roman Belinsky spanned the car. Marcus Amann doing a great job as well, moving out of the way. Of course, part of the Sauber Driver Academy. You recognise the livery there as well, but a major moment at that point. Arden going very wide there as well. There is Belinsky as he looks to try and fight his way back through the order, as he looks to try and garner increase in positions. Very, very tricky conditions out there for the drivers now as we see more side-by-side action. Oh, an RPM car making quite the error there as well, as they all go in tandem, nose to tail, nothing separates them. And as they make their way down now, Santiago Ramos losing a place as a result. And has now since seen Maya Weyug as well move onwards and upwards. So you can see the Van Amersfoort car also looking to try and make its way through. That's Kaz Havercourt, who's currently leading this contingent, this train that now makes its way around the Blanchimont section. All the drivers trying to get any points they can muster. RPM very well represented at the top, and they're going to go side by side again this time as well. An amazing moment here as they now exit out of the final corner here on this lap. Santiago Ramos we're currently seeing in shot as they peel through the mist, and again another car going off wide, heading through the bus stop chicane. A little switchback as well as we see the cars look to sort themselves out as they head down now in towards the La Source section. It's Alessandro Giusti there as well. You see the battle now look to bring into the fray as well as they look to climb up the hill. You can see the MP Motorsport also trying to bring itself into the mix. Nose to tail as they peel on upwards through turns 3, 4. Very soon they'll head to Lecom. There's Tim Tramnitz as well, who's currently under threat from Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He leads the way, Tim Tramnitz, and has held on to that advantage. Kamara losing out on those vital places as well. He's dropped down quite a bit, but Tramnitz still with the lead. And as a result, Antonelli trying to pepper the rear of Tramnitz's car. There's Hadrian David, who has made all sorts of places since the race starts as well. Like I said, hasn't skipped a beat since his return. A heroic return, certainly for the man running in the ART, as they now make their way through the Jackie X bend. And then they've got the trip down through towards Pouhon. Now we have got the incident between cars 25 and 4 at turn 19. That is going to be investigated towards the end of the race. That involving Roman Belinsky as well, and Marcus Amann, who we saw avoiding or trying to avoid, I think, the carnage at that section. But it is being investigated by race control after the incident at turn 19. And these corners, as we said before, in conditions, these drivers certainly putting on a clinic and giving absolutely everything on this wet compounded tyre as well. There's Ramos, who's still under pressure. He's got Kirill Small as well for company, who is certainly known, it's not certainly no slouch when it comes to racing in single-seaters. Monolight have placed a lot of faith in this young man and carries a lot of weight and ability, certainly when it comes to his team performances, as they make their way now in towards the last sector on this lap. Still 20 minutes to go here in the race. Plenty of opportunities for the drivers. It's been a sensation this weekend already. Ramos still under pressure, losing a little bit of time. Because we saw certain teams applying the extra downforce onto the cars, obviously consistent with the theme of the wet weather, trying to gain a little bit more traction. Just look at Kirill Small, though, who is gaining and trying to find a way through. Finds the inside line, heading through Blanchimont as well. Here are the leaders as well. There's Tim Tramnitz, Antonelli right behind him too as they make their way down through towards turn 1. The Italian, who is still yet to score a race win this season. Prema already scoring one thanks to Rafael Kamara yesterday. Antonelli still looking to gain. As we're now seeing the cars make their way through. Again, another wide moment heading through bus stop. Now, this is a very late move here from Kimi Antonelli. Of course, both of these drivers up at the sharp end. Antonelli and Tramnitz have had such a close rivalry, a very close near miss as well on the exit of bus stop. Antonelli can count himself, I think, a little lucky off the back of that one. It could have ended in tears, but he's staying in the race, which is great to see. Tramnitz now making his way up the hill in Kemmel. certainly after the little incident, it has enabled, obviously, Tramnitz to hold on, but just look at Antonelli trying to break out of the dirty air. He's trying to gain, Tramnitz, a little slip, and more water you can see currently out on the circuit, causing the cars to become a little restless as they head through this very technical section. Drivers obviously looking for cooler temperatures for the tyres, moving into different sections of the track to make sure that they don't get too hot. So Antonelli trying to avoid it overheating as we're seeing the cars bunch up heading through the Lecom section. There you can see further down there as well, Lorenzo Fluscia, who was battling his own teammate Antonelli in yesterday's race. Back again though as they look to try and go nip and tuck heading through the Rivage section. Again, you want to remain tight to that inside, very tricky to do though in wet conditions, side by side. Forfeiting the position there, the MP Motorsport car, as they make their way through. Michael Belov holding on well against Victor Bernier, who's doing his best to try and contend. Here comes Antonelli down the inside now, heading through towards Le Farnier. Side by side, Tramnitz defends now as they look to go side by side. A switch back from Antonelli as now they look to go side by side again, this time through Campos and Stavolo. He's got the outside line. It won't help him this time, but he cuts again to the inside. Tramnitz running wide. A stellar battle now starting to brew between the two drivers in the top three of the championship. Antonelli takes the lead here in this lap. Sensational here at Spa, and now makes his way down the final sector. The Italian now looks set to try and take his first win of the season, and Prama's second this season as well. A cracking bit of driving from Antonelli to manage the pace, manage the moments, the apexes as well. Gets past Tramnitz, but it's not over yet, folks. Tramnitz is still very much there and will, of course, have the benefit of that slipstream as well. Obviously, very, very tricky, as I said, in these conditions, but Antonelli, all the experience, all the championships he has won, utilised in that very moment to bring a crucial move to the table for the Prema team. And look at Joshua Dirksen, who's brought himself into the fight as well. Again, more scrapping further down. There is Santiago Ramos. I believe they're in behind too. He's got his own battles ahead of him. Sonny Megatunif also trying to make places as they make their way across the line. The Team Trident car there of Owen Tangavellu also in the mix. There's Tramnitz though, and instead of Antonelli as his main issue, he's got another one, the Paraguayan Joshua Dirksen. Oh, what it would mean to him to get a podium this weekend. He's on the table for one, but a P2 would certainly taste a lot better as they make their way up the straight now. Kemmel will certainly help him with the aero. He might utilize some push to pass. Looks around the outside as well in towards Lecom. Still remaining side by side. Dirksen into second place. Goodness me, off the track though. Has to try and get himself back on, and certainly he might forego the position. He does, forgoes the position there to Tim Tramnitz, and a safety car is now out on track. A safety car here, and oh dearie me, clear suspension damage. Alexander Partishev for Kick Motorsport off in the gravel, heading through bus stop chicane, and that is really unfortunate there for him. Obviously, it's been a tough weekend. They've been working so hard. You can just see there, oh, a rear end. Goodness me. And that will certainly bring an end to his race. Without question, Nikhil Bora, the unfortunate receiver of that little nudge in the rear. And also Nikhil Bora's car in the pits for Trident as well. They're going to try and understand as to whether there's an issue. Is there a puncture on the car perhaps from that that moment that they had together? Obviously heading down towards bus stop, we speak about the heavy braking zones in motorsport as well. And obviously you really need to pick your moments, especially in the wet conditions. That braking distance really does extend at that point, so any later it can leave you in trouble. We see Tramnitz there looking for the grip as he heads through Campos and Stavolo. But what a race this has been, certainly with the changeable conditions. Of course, we had a dry race of sorts yesterday. It was slightly damp at the start, but the drivers were content to use the slick tyres in yesterday's race. A different picture here today, and while we didn't have necessarily the hard rainfall that we had on the previous evenings, it's been enough throughout the weekend to obviously garner a wet track, and the safety car now making its way out and the spray elevating off the rear of the tyres. Tramnitz though will be, I think, happy at the prospect that the safety car will bring him and Antonelli back together again, and he can perhaps launch a charge. And what about Joshua Dirksen as well? Amazingly, he was able to bring that gap back because Antonelli and Tramnitz were well clear at the very start. Dirksen gave it absolutely everything to bring himself back into the mix. And I would never write him off to score some big points either, because of course second season in Formula Regional, a Paraguayan karting champion, and he was a vice champion in F4 in the United Arab Emirates as well. Fans given a special treat this morning. Single seaters certainly have delivered. And we see the cars make their way through the La Source section. Obviously, it's a very special weekend in many ways, for many reasons here in Formula Regional, but we're also marking it as a special occasion because Formula Regional will be saying goodbye to a very special human being who certainly contributed massively to the ACI sport and also that of Formula Regional. The category manager for this championship, Pascal Ayroud, is of course departing the series after this race weekend. And there was a special occasion at Hungaroring last week. If you were there, you might have seen it. But all the teams got together and paid tribute to Pascal Ayroud for all his accomplishments and all his service to that of the Formula Regional European Championship season. And I personally would like to say a massive thank you to Pascal Ayroud for everything he has done for this series. And I'm sure that's spoken for many of the team as well behind the scenes that put so much hard work and effort into this championship. And we have also, we're going to take a look at how the lead changed here at the very start. Now this is obviously Antonelli making that crucial overtake heading through Le Farnier. It was a daring move under wet conditions, but he's fearless, folks. He tries it around the outside, goes for that lethal switchback, and Tramnich just could not stop him. He tried absolutely everything, tried to squeeze him to the outside. Fair racing room was given by both drivers, by both accounts, but Antonelli cut him back again to that inside, heading through the next right-hander out of Campos and Stavolo, and then made his way through Corbeil-Pourfray in front here in this sensational race as well. And Tom Leben, who we're currently seeing on screen, having a moment and just dropped actually through the field and has lost certainly a fair number of places, as in fact only just coming through turn 7. And many of the other cars, Niels Coughlan currently sits in behind the main pack, making his way through turn 9. So Tom Leben having a spin at Eau Rouge, we've heard that's reported, so he's got to try and recover. You can be thankful to some degree that there is a safety car so he can bring himself back with the pack, but nevertheless, never an ideal scenario for a racing driver. But he's back and on track anyway. Great to see him back on, and he's going to try and chase up now with the rest of the field. But still at this moment in time, it's Antonelli who, after all the misfortune, he's had his chances to win races, and little moments have certainly got in between him and achieving that grand feat. And we're going to take a little look of the moment that Tom Leben had. You can just see in the background, folks, in the mist, you can just see the car just spinning off into the grass on the right-hand side. And yeah, you can just see the car right round, the lights on the back of the car that have been utilised due to the wet conditions this weekend. And the car rear-ended and has pivoted while going through Eau Rouge, through towards Radion and through towards the Kemmel Straight. But back on the track, which is great to see a car going off wide there as well, just behind the Arden. Might be a monolite there that's just trying to get itself back onto the circuit, but no harm done. As we also have news that the incident involving cars number 23 and 47 is going to be investigated after the race. That is, of course, the incident with Alexander Partyshev, and that's of the Trident driver, Nikhil Bora. That will be reviewed, and obviously that's in relation to the incident at the bus stop chicane. So those conditions certainly have certainly made the stewards sort of bring that into question. They're just going to have a little look. And Martinia Stenshorn, you can see at the back, our current rookie championship leader, currently still holds on to the championship lead as well after an impressive day yesterday. But the 2R Race GP cars would take 2nd and 3rd in the classification. And some big points going towards them as well to help their lead in the championship, though Prema might be able to gain that gap and bring it back closer again with Antonelli, should he hold on to this position. We've got 10 minutes still to go after this. The safety car, I'm sure, will be in very soon. The marshals have been absolutely terrific all weekend. And we had 2 very pacey safety cars yesterday. There we see Partyshev's car. You can see the clear damage on the wishbone as well as the suspension as well. And there's confirmation from race control. The safety car is in this lap. And so therefore we will be back to full race conditions, ladies and gentlemen. So we will have plenty of action to bring you. Will it be Antonelli to cap a first race win this season? A second for Prema to increase their good record here at Spa-Francorchamps. And I'll tell you what, Maya Wayug as well delivering a clinic. Currently sat in 6th place just behind the other Prema car of Rafael Camara, who would go on to win yesterday's race and their first Prema win. And Joshua Dirksen on the cusp of getting a big result too. But don't forget, Dirksen has got a start procedure investigation after the race. And there we see as well car number 33 that's gone off as well. That's Lucas Medina. And Lucas Medina having a major issue, and he stopped there right on the track under the safety car. So that might revert the safety car coming in. So now head through the next left, and as we see the cars, they make their way through the next chicane. Still Antonelli carrying them on through. We'll bring news as to whether the safety car will stay out. We also have news of a black and white flag being presented for that of car number 43. Now that is due to the track limits. That's Owen Tangavelu, incidentally, who's going to suffer at the wrath of the stewards for that one. So whether that will be reviewed later on, I'm sure that they'll look at it. But a black and white flag being raised against that of him. So he's going to have to look to try and recover at this point. Owen Tangavelu currently sat in 22nd place behind Joshua Dufek. But how about this, My Way You, currently on for a rookie race win this weekend as well. Kirill Small also looking to achieve some huge points in that rookie classification. And we got confirmation as well that the safety car is staying out on track due to the issue with Lucas Medina's Santaloc car. You see it just stranded there right on the circuit. So if the car can't move, we do need to enforce the safety car to continue again. And it'll bring, obviously, the drivers back into order and remain in order here at this point. So Tramnets will be hoping for a good restart when, of course, it does come in. The marshals once again on hand to deliver as usual. Obviously, we have lots happening this weekend. Of course, I mentioned Pascal Ruud, obviously departing the championship. But we also need to talk about sustainability in motorsport, because ACI Sport have got the agricultural minister or ministry this weekend joining us. They had a tent in the paddock and helping, obviously, sustainability in motorsport by pushing that of agriculture, preservation of the environment as well. ACI obviously see it as imperative to make sure that they can obviously make sure that motorsport is doing its bit to maintain the environment and the sustainability of nature as well, and also promoting natural fish as well as a diet here in Italy as well. Of course, when we go to Mugello, that's when they'll be there presenting that too. So lots of excitement, certainly a lot of work being done by ACI to give back to the environment and preserve the natural world as well. So fantastic to have them here as well this weekend, as the safety car now drives the cars up through, and there's another car going off wide further back. That was an RSGP car, just taking a bit of a detour. Looked like it might have been Martinius Stenshorn, just taking a little detour, heading up through Rouge and Radion. You can just see there, that's the picture we currently have, of course, the cars. You can just see the flashing lights that are obviously necessary here at this point. Antonelli, and there is the Santaloc car. That's the reason why we're under the safety car procedure, but very carefully making their way through Lecom and then through Malmedy as well. And as the tractor now goes to work in removing the Santaloc, well, certainly they'll be looking to try and clear this up as soon as possible. But Lucas Medina, an unfortunate weekend, certainly not the way he would have wanted to bring it to a close, to say the least. But as we look ahead now to 5 minutes and 45 to go, Antonelli will be hoping to maintain this lead here at the helm of Tim Tramnitz. Once again, Prema and RSGP continuing this championship fight. Of course, we've got plenty more to come this season. We're not even at the halfway point, folks, as the marshals do absolutely everything they can to clear up what was left of the incident there as well. But we go racing next. Of course, next weekend it's Mugello, so make sure you tune in for that one as well. We've got Le Castellet coming up later on this month as well, and then a trip to Red Bull Ring, and then followed up by the Temple of Speed at Monza, with a trip to Zandvoort then for the penultimate round. And then for the first time this season as well, Hockenheim is part of the calendar. A German race here, replacing the Monaco race of last season too, in the recent seasons. And it'll be very exciting to see how these cars take to the Hockenheim Ring circuit. Of course, very fast pace and lots of fast speed sections as well for the drivers to manage. I'm sure they'll enjoy that. But yes, not even halfway through the season just yet. Mugello will mark that halfway point, and as well as Paul Ricard as well. And this battle between Prema and RSGP will surely heighten with the fact that Prema has scored some huge points, but RSGP is still very much in the mix here as we see the cars make their way down through towards the bus stop once again. Antonelli leading the way. Of course, the man who would score a number of podiums already this season. We talk about his championship accolades as well. Italian F4 champion, German F4 champion in 2022. And OK Senior European champion in 2020 and 21 in karting as well. And what about Fremont champion in 2023? Of course, a recent winner in these cars, as well as in the Middle East representing too, and has been a tenacious figure, many tipping him to be a future star, and certainly displaying that after that stellar overtake on Tim Tramnitz earlier on, as we now make our way through the final corners. Tim Tramnitz, though, himself built on last season's rookie race win, where, of course, he took that result in race 2 last year, and chasing after an overall victory here. Should he manage to make his way past Antonelli, it's going to be a very gripping finale when we do return to racing. Hadrian David just catching in shot. What a return for him as well, off the back of a successful year last year. And he himself a race winner at Monaco, Hungaroring and Red Bull Ring in 2022 with the RACE-GP team. Had a very strong relationship with that team as well. But Hadrian David, who hasn't necessarily been seen on a racetrack in 6 months, has since returned now here at Formula Regional, which makes this performance certainly the more impressive, and has really given it everything. Great to see him back as well, and always a grand personality in the paddock as well. As we now see the cars climb their way up through towards Eau Rouge. Once again, instilling the heat into the tyres. Antonelli putting absolutely everything into a potential race win. As I said, his first and Prama's second. Tramnitz there in behind. There is Hadrian David. I mean, could you imagine a Hadrian David podium at the end of all this as well? Maya Wayug as well further back, of course, leading that rookie standing, ahead of Kaz Havercourt, of course, a mainstay at Van Amersfoort as he has been over the past 2 years. And, once again, looking to deliver a blissful performance. Hasn't been an ideal weekend for Van Amersfoort, but they can look ahead, of course, to better results. They came into this weekend in the top end of the championship, fighting it out in the top 3 as a team. And they can certainly deliver on their day as well. Kaz Havercourt, no stranger to race wins himself as well. Of course, in his 3rd season in Formula Regional, Spanish F4 champion and a Vice WSK karting champion to boot. And will obviously put all his skills necessary to the helm of Van Amersfoort's title and certainly championship ambitions this season, as the cars they make their way through towards the next left. And Nikhil Bora has actually managed to get back onto the track as well after having that shunt from the rear. The Trident team have deemed that the car is fit to continue racing, so that's great news to see Nikhil Bora back on the back of Tom Leben now, who also had his moment earlier on. He did manage to catch up afterwards with Niels Coulin after having that little spin heading through a Rouge and Radion, which pivoted the car around. There's confirmation from race control folks as well. Safety car is in this lap. So we will be able to bring you the remainder of this race. Effectively, this will give us 2 racing laps because we will have the +1 lap as well. And that should give us plenty more blissful moments. Yeah. Or Antonelli might slow them up. Kamara did something similar yesterday's race as well. Tried to make sure that he brought the cars to a very slow halt. Let's wait and see what Antonelli does here. Might choose to prefer a reduced time remainder in this race. Obviously, it gives him 1 racing lap, but only gives Tramnitz 1 lap of opportunity to try and mass a charge here to Antonelli. I'm sure if you're Andrea Kimi Antonelli, to get your first race win this season is truly a case of just trying to bring it home as quickly as possible, try and install his first race win this season effectively, perhaps even bring the waterfall of race wins that he is oh so capable of, as now he looks to bring the car down through towards the bus stop chicane. And watch the timer, folks. 30 seconds remain here in the session. Kimi, though, back up to reasonable pace, makes his way down through towards the bus stop chicane now. Tramnitz in behind. There's Dirksen. Hadrian David as well in behind him, with Kamara in behind them too. And then a little moment, they got very tight coming through. That's Kaz Havercourt, Matteo Capietto, as they put pedal to the metal for the 2nd time in this race now. And Andrea Kimi Antonelli gets away well. And indeed, they get through past the line with time allowed. So we will have 1 more lap after this one, and it's Antonelli who leads the way. Tramnitz in behind as well, tries to pursue, but that gap has grown. And look at Dirksen, who might have a chance here on the remaining lap. Flashbacks to yesterday's race, where we saw the 2 drivers, Antonelli on that occasion with teammate Lorenzo Fluscia. It's not a teammate battle this time, but an Arden and an RACE-GP as they make their way over the crest. Oh no! Oh, it's Tim Tramnitz! Tramnitz off on the cusp of Eau Rouge and Radion, and that is clear suspension damage on the car as he makes his way up the hill. Joshua Dirksen now moves up to 2nd. Hadrian David on the cusp of another podium as they head through towards Les Combes now. A welcome return for David, a not so welcome return for Tramnitz. He's out of the race. The safety car's being deployed. Goodness me. A getaway, certainly, that would be rude by that of Tim Tramnitz, the man who is chasing yet more results this weekend. A red flag, the race will be stopped, and surely that will send the victory the way of Andrea Kimi Antonelli, ahead of that of Joshua Dirksen and Hadrian David. But the red flag is out, the race has been stopped. The timer is at 0, ladies and gentlemen, but Tim Tramnitz, oh dearie me, he's going to be absolutely distraught with that one. He has been on the pace all weekend long, delivered in the collective test that we had leading up to the weekend as well. But a spin heading up through Eau Rouge and Rayon on the cusp of the Kemmel Straight, losing the rear, just twisted. We've seen how some of the cars might have greater downforce, some might have reduced. Don't forget the tyre implications as well. Just lost the car on the top of the crest and just span it into obscurity as well. And unfortunately, he is well and truly out of the race. The podium slipping through his fingers. But Andrea Kimi Antonelli, I'm sure, will be absolutely thrilled to take a race win for the first time this season. It will be Andrea Kimi Antonelli on the top step of the podium here in Formula Regional. And Joshua Dirksen in second place. Hadrian David will come home in third. A welcome return for Hadrian David as well. But it was a very, very busy race. Lots of action out on track. Prema, though, can celebrate once again. 2 race wins this weekend. Of course, it was Rafael Camara taking the first one for Prema as well. All dressed in red. Antonelli's just done exactly the same as well. And Josh Dirksen, obviously home in second. But don't forget, his race start will be under investigation. And we do have news that cars 21, 19, 5 and 33 are under investigation as well. So that's Kirill Small involved in that. We also have Esteban Masson and car number 5, as well as Tom Leben and 33 of Lucas Medina. They're all going to be investigated and currently under investigation now by Race Control as the cars now make their way into Parc Fermé. And the red flag bringing a stop to the end of this race. The timer had already ticked to 0 by that point, and therefore the result will stand as it sits right now, as we now see Antonelli bring it in at this point with Josh Dirksen in second place. But we're now hearing as well that, of course, the red flag will mean that the standings are back at the previous snap. That's the usual procedure to this race, but we will hear, obviously, confirmation on this as time goes on. Antonelli, of course, taking the race win regardless out on circuit, so I don't think it'll affect him too much. And we just see a little bit of debris just on the side of the Arden as well as we make their way up the hill. Spectators watching on despite the rain, so the commitment being shown by them has been sensational. And hopefully they'll enjoy a splendid weekend of racing. But Kimi Antonelli, a stellar battle between him and Tim Tramnitz earlier on. Certainly a pleasure to watch between 2 outstanding talents on this grid of superb young drivers. 34 cars, of course, came racing this weekend and certainly have delivered under the rain-soaked circuit of Spa-Francorshamps. A familiar sight, certainly for many, as we will eventually hear what the result has been confirmed as. What it could mean, though, is that Tim Tramnitz might yet hold his position in P2, so it might mean that Hadrian David will lose out on that podium. Of course, subject to what happens with Josh Dirksen. Of course, the stewards are going to investigate that after the session. And we'll have to wait and see as to who gets that. Maya Wayug, though, taking the rookie race win and having a stellar one as well. Here are the results at this point. Provisional results here, folks. Andrea Kimi Antonelli is your race winner. Tim Tramnitz in second. Joshua Dirksen in third with Hadrian David in fourth place. Rafael Camara in fifth with Maya Wayug, rookie winner, and P6 as well. Kaz Havercourt in seventh with Matteo Capietto in eighth. Sami Megatunov in ninth with Santiago Ramos in 10th place. Esteban Masson in 11th place with Kirill Small in 12th. Alessandro Giusti in 13th with Michael Belov in 14th place. Victor Bernier finishes in 15th with Lawrence Van Hoopen in 16th. Martinius Stenchorn in 17th with Marcus Amand in 18th place. Dilano Van Hoff finishing in 19th with Lorenzo Flucher for Prema in 20th. Joshua Dupek in 21st. Owen Tangavelu finishes in 22nd with Matthias Zagazzetta in 23rd. Roman Belinsky in 24th with Adam Fitzgerald in 25th. Levente Ravesh in 26th, with Enzo Scianti in 27th, and Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. in 28th, with Giovanni Maschio in 29th, with Niels Kuhlen finishing in 30th place. Under a rain-soaked weekend, it certainly has been tenacious. Of course, further back, Tom Leben would finish in the order in 31st. Nikhil Bora came back onto the track, finishing in 32nd place as well. We did unfortunately lose the likes of Lucas Medina as well as Alexander Partishev earlier on as well. But a really tough race for all the drivers concerned, but they've all done a fantastic job to get around. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, though, will celebrate, no doubt, a special result this weekend. And will that be the waterfall broken? Will he manage to succeed heading through the season? Let's wait and see. And there's confirmed. Tom Leben in 31st, Nikhil Bora in 32nd place, Lucas Medina 33rd, obviously DNFing earlier on, and Alexander Partishev in 34th. But a very good race indeed, certainly delivered by that of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. A series of second places has now resulted in a race win this weekend, managing to get himself on the top step of the podium for the first time, as well as Prema's second race win of this weekend as well. Continuing on the feats of last season, they're back again at the top. RSGP, though, giving absolutely everything, also bringing home some stellar results. We're going to talk about Maya Wayug as well, who has done absolutely sensationally to pick up that rookie race win and also some serious points in the overall championship as she looks to climb higher and higher through the echelons of this championship. Kaz Havercourt as well for Van Amersfoort also gave a good account of himself as well, fighting in the midfield, and it certainly was a very tough battle. And we do have some footage here of the cars making their way through the final section. No one could stop this man, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. A massive move heading through the final sectors of this circuit at Spa. Did it in great style, switchback after switchback. He went hunting after Tim Tramnitz and eventually succeeded, taking first place here in this classification. His first win of his Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine in his, well, certainly in his very short career so far, and already it's been stellar. There's Tim Tramnitz, who as a result of the red flag should hold on to that second place. We will get confirmation. Results provisional at this time, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Dirksen as well, finishing in behind the top two, bringing home a successful P3 as well, and important integral points for Arden Motorsport, who have had a very tricky start to the season in their campaign. And what about Hadrian David? A stellar return to this championship after 6 months away from the circuit, to return here to the series that he competed in last year, taking race wins, getting back to the top end as well. But nevertheless, there will be plenty more to come, I can imagine. Obviously, make sure you stay tuned. As I said before, folks, the calendar still alive and kicking. Plenty more to come throughout this campaign. And, of course, a trip to Mugello to get things back underway throughout this campaign as well. That'll be the midpoint of our season before we then go racing at Paul Ricard as well. So lots of action to bring you this month as well. So make sure you stay tuned. And the spectators, as you can see watching on, looking forward to another stellar day of racing. Despite the wet weather, get your umbrellas out, folks. That's what's necessary. And plus, I would just like to say once again, a big thank you to Pascal Leroux for all his services here to the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine too. And we wish him all the very best for the future as well. But don't forget to stay tuned to everything around the Formula Regional European Championship as well, folks. The social media will be active. You can, of course, find the results as well, the confirmed results on the website as well. That'll be obviously showing the results post-stewards' decisions. So make sure you stay tuned into that as well. And plenty of incidents, of course, being investigated after the race, including that of Josh Dirksen's start procedure that was declared by race control that they needed to investigate. Certainly what was behind that particular incident. But I'm sure it will be brought to the forefront very soon. And a big wave there from the crowds as well that are enjoying their weekend. Great to see. Certainly very special indeed. But where can Antonelli go from here? Will it be another championship? Who knows? He's been vastly competitive, certainly all season long. And another podium to boot as well. Where can this take the young man from Italy? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously a racing lineage. And we're going to take another look here where they came together at the chicane, heading through towards the braking zone in towards bus stop. This is where Andrea Kimi Antonelli would outbrake himself heading into that particular corner. left the car stranded on the outside, and that allowed Tramnitz to come back through and hold the position. Antonelli would then have to try again later on as well, but certainly a great display of determination from both drivers who were fighting for the race win, and this one would certainly mean oh so much to Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Unfortunately though, in this situation had to back out, but very close to catching. But heading through now out of the final chicane at bus stop, it would be Tramnitz coming out on top in this particular scrap that these two had on track. Certainly was an almighty battle between the pair of them as they made their way down to La Source once again. But the Italian would not be denied. Of course, he would eventually come straight back at Tim Tramnitz. Wouldn't leave anything to chance whatsoever. Was swarming all over him like a nasty rash, it has to be said. A tremendous talent on the grid is Andrea Kimi Antonelli, putting all the skills he developed in karting, as well as that in single-seaters, once again to the test, as has Tim Tramnitz as well, who has been putting in a lot of work in several single-seater series in bids to get himself set and ready for this championship campaign. And he himself, I'm sure, will bounce back after today, after certainly securing a very special result at Barcelona, where he would fight Antonelli there to take the 2 race wins that weekend as well. A very talented young man, and RSGP will have big results on their mind as they make their way through the season campaign. But plenty of other drivers to note as well. Will we see Adrian David back in the future as well? Wild card for this weekend. Will we see him back again? I hope we do. He's a stellar performer, and ART will be absolutely thrilled with what they've recouped here this weekend. And we're now going to go to some highlights as well from the session, and the race start certainly wasn't as chaotic as we perhaps would have expected, but plenty of movements further down. Adrian David got a huge start. Tramnitz getting a huge jump as well. Antonelli coming under a little bit of threat from Santiago Ramos, the man who would go fastest in his session. But how about Joshua Dirksen, who got a fantastic getaway and made his way down the inside out of the source? The Arden then would pepper the back of the RPM as they climbed up through Rouge and Radion. Ramos was under distinct pressure. The rain certainly not working for him at all this weekend, and he would come under that pressure quite excruciatingly. A fantastic move there, an attempt at a move, certainly. Josh Dirksen securing that overtake and managing to get it done as well. This was a fantastic moment though. Andrea Kimi Antonelli breaking into the Lafanier chicane as he put Tramnitz to the test. They went wheel to wheel through this segment of curb with a switchback from Antonelli that would gift him an opportunity heading through Campus and Stavolo. Tramnitz tried to close him off to the inside, but braking a little earlier allowed that of Antonelli to then try it heading through towards the Stavolo section before venturing through Courbet-Paul Frere with the Prema hitting the front in absolutely prolific style. He would then make his way through towards Blanchimont, where he would hold position. There was also a rear end from Alexander Partishev coming together with Nikhil Bora. Of course, the Trident car would make its way into the pit lane for further checks. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be for Alexander Partishev. But it would be Andrea Kimi Antonelli who would lead away here at this point as well. Tim Tramnitz would obviously try and chase him, but a fantastic win from Andrea Kimi Antonelli would certainly give him the race win.